Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Mark Gambali. In just a few minutes, we're going to kick off the final part of the series of thriving during business uncertainty. So, as you start to log in and see the screen, definitely announce yourself in the chat. And also, what's one thing that you're looking forward to doing this summer, or maybe just looking forward to not doing? Maybe you decided this is the year that you're going to switch from a real lawn to a fake lawn and you're not going to mow anymore and water anymore. Who knows? But we'd love to hear your funny story about what you just can't wait to do or what you're wanted to stop doing. So if you're just joining us now, we're going to go live on the slides with today's talk in about 1 more minute and give some folks a little bit of time to get in here, grab that extra sip of coffee. This is Wednesday for everyone that's like wondering, well, wait, what day is it? What time is it? I often try to figure out, I wish I just had an easy way of quickly knowing what day it is rather than having to think about it. I don't know about you guys, but this has definitely been uncertain times for all of us. And we're super psyched that you're joining us. All right, so I'm seeing a bunch of people join in. I'm going to wait 2 more minutes before we go live. So definitely, if you're online and with us now, say hello in the chat. And if you're wondering what the chat is, it's just this bottom part that says Q&A, and it looks like these little bubbles, 2 bubbles next to each other. Just say hi, good morning, whatever you want to say. And then what's that one thing that you're looking forward to doing this summer? Or something that you just don't want to do anymore. Maybe it's mowing the lawn, maybe it's watering that lawn, maybe it's something else that you're just like, I need a break. All right, so we got a bunch of people coming in here saying hi. Morning, Teresa. Morning, Abigail. And so say hi and talk about what's on your mind, what you want to do. Some folks are saying, gosh, I just want to go visit family. I want to go visit my daughters. Pagosa Hot Springs, nice. That's definitely a cool place to get to. Might be the case that you are thinking about loading up on gas and taking advantage of while it's cheap and sort of preparing for that long maybe drive to get out of the state or get somewhere else once that opens up and that's allowed. Cool. So for the folks that chatted in and told us what you want to do or not do this summer, thanks. We'll definitely go back to that at the end because it's just kind of great to have engagement. All right, so you are here in Thriving in Business Uncertainty. This webinar series was inspired by conversations that Megan and I had about, well, what do the businesses of Louisville need? What do the business owners need? And we talked about what do you do now related to PPP loans and all sorts of grants and applications. And that was definitely a lot of work for all of you, I'm sure, just trying to figure out what do you do. And Megan was awesome in being a resource for that. We did a first round of what have our peers done, and we're actually repeating that today because of its popularity. First time we had Moxie, Pitter Patter, and Yoga Junction share their stories. And today we're super excited to have 2 more business owners share their stories. In our third section, we really talked about how to thrive and revive and pivot your business during this time, how to rethink and create some new patterns of excellence. And then last week, Wayne and I talked about how to revive your social presence. Maybe you haven't looked at your site in a while. Maybe you haven't told all the new stories about new menu items, new products, new ways of working with you as you reshape, rethink, and retool for reviving your business if you haven't opened back up again. So today's final chapter of this awesome series is how our fellow peers have been adapting. And I always start off with sort of a mindfulness moment for all of you guys. And Wayne, you kind of want to chat about this one?
Yeah, sure. So this is a quote from Mark that I decided to take and put on a nice little infographic for everybody. It says, "The joy is in the journey, not the destination." I find this to be especially important and is inspiring during these times because, everybody's very concerned, of course, of what's going to happen next, where are we going? But, if we can take a simple step back, right, and be grateful for maybe a time of not being as hectic with business, or time that we can spend with families in our households and just simply enjoy the journey, right? Because end of day, 5 years from now, we're all going to look back and we're going to laugh, right? We're going to chuckle at what an unusual time it's been. So if we can all just enjoy the journey, not just focus on the destination, I think it'll really do leaps and bounds for everybody. So that's about it. Mark, thoughts?
Yeah, and another way to kind of think about it too is, if you haven't taken that step, begin with the end in mind. If you're not open now, and when you know that there's time and you're ready to open back up, begin that journey. Take those first steps. And along the way, there's going to be a ton of learning and a ton of new experiences. And we're super excited to have both Greg Jones and Aaron Cox telling us about their journeys today and what that really looked like. So if you've got pen and paper, definitely take notes. You might hear some super interesting things from them along the way, or you get an idea. Just make note of that, and then really pay attention to their story. It's often said that if you don't take notes, you'll only kind of retain, 10, 20%. But if you take the notes, you get 50% sort of retaining of the content. And if you make like a to-do or an action list, like priority, and you actually implement that, you get 90% retaining of that content, that education. So that's our challenge for you guys today. Take notes, write action items, and implement. So super excited now. Just a little bit more on Gambali Labs. We are a 3-person team that's dedicated to your business growth and digital marketing pivots. My background really is in business entrepreneurship and coaching and working with owners. I've had the opportunity to launch 15 products on my own. And through that learning experience of figuring out what not to do and then what to do has really kind of shaped my perspective and my drive to work with business owners such as you that are on today's audience, to be your partner and work with you along that way of those steps and that journey. And then Wayne, a little bit more on you.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. So, as once again, I'm that side stems from a lot of digital and the marketing aspect. I launched my first online business back in 2014 and have been focusing there ever since. So really that side that we talk about strategy for social media or for advertising online or for your website, that's really where I specialize, where we look to help a lot of people. And then Mark, is Ellie on the webinar today, or do you want to say a little something about her?
Oh, so Ellie, big celebration for her. I'll talk about her background. She just graduated CU last week, and she had planned ahead and had her headshots and photography done at Flatirons before, or Chautauqua before it got super busy. But, we're super excited to have her. She brings a total creative side, total art direction side, and a website sophistication side that can really apply to people that want to put a higher touch of professionalism or ease of use or whatever is that experience that you want to have across your digital. Ellie really brings that to the forefront on the team. So we're super excited that she's part of working with us. So if you want to reach out, shoot me an email or take a picture of this number. We'd love to partner with you and learn your story. So with that said, now I'm super excited to introduce Greg Jones. Greg is the owner of Louisville Cyclery. In case you guys don't all know, this is actually the 40th anniversary of this company. So I'll leave it to you, Greg. Tell us your story.
All right. Well, as Mark said, my name is Greg Jones. I moved to Louisville back in the mid-90s, and I actually worked for Louisville Cyclery. I worked for Scott, the founder of Louisville Cyclery, for a few years back then, before I moved to the corporate side of the cycling industry. And a few years ago, he and I started talking about him moving towards retirement and me possibly taking over. And that finally came to fruition October 1st of 2019. So we've been, it's been quite a journey since then. long story short, we had a big break-in 2 weeks into that, October 14th. And those of you in Louisville probably remember that there was a 2.5-hour police standoff. And now here we are with COVID. So yeah, this is kind of our journey at this point. That's a picture of my family, my wife and 2 kids who are actually both working here and helping me out a little bit through all this, building bikes and ringing up the cash register, stuff like that. So it's actually been kind of fun to work with them the last couple of days as they're helping me out, since we are having some staffing issues. And I think the next slide was our journey through COVID. So our experience was interesting, to say the least. As most of you know, Boulder County started before the state of Colorado did. And when they made the announcement, bicycle shops were not considered essentials. So came in that morning and was kind of planning on, trying to figure out how we're going to close, get people back their bikes, what the plan will be from there. And then it must have been 6 hours into the day, they announced that bike shops are going to be considered essential. So within the same day, we had to kind of turn around and figure out what that meant and how we had to adjust accordingly. And the state took action about 5 days later, I think it was. I can't remember the timeline exactly, but it was the same thing. The state made their announcement, bike shops were not included. And we came in and we were trying to figure out how we're going to close down, get everyone's bikes back to them, and what we were going to do. And then again, about 6 hours into that day, they announced no, bike shops are considered essential. So then we had to go back, revise our plan, and kind of move forward with that. So it was a bit of a yo-yo to start, and really definitely threw a wrench in things as far as how we move forward. And we weren't prepared. Our shop is set up to, like most retail stores, we want you to come into the store. We want you to look around at everything and hands-on and experience everything. But with the situation, we felt it was best to actually keep everyone out. Our store's pretty small, so we could only really have one person in the store at a time. And it just wasn't real beneficial for us to do it that way. And we have a nice front yard, so we actually decided to close the doors and have the salespeople go out to the front in the yard and actually help people out there. We'll bring product out and do it out there. It took a while. We had to move the shop around numerous times to try and figure out how to get, what product is it that people are looking for. Is mostly repairs that people are coming in for, and small parts to fix their bike. And all that stuff was located throughout the shop. So we were having to walk from the front yard throughout the shop, back out to the front yard, make sure it was the right part, then to the back of the shop to the register, then back up. We were doing 2,000 steps just to sell an $8 tube. And so we just had to make some changes. So we started moving the store around, moving the cash register up front, bringing product up, and trying to shorten the steps to make it more efficient. So it's faster for the customers, but also more efficient for the employees. We also made the decision that we felt it was very important to wash all the bikes, and anything that was coming in the store should be sanitized. So we set up a bike washing station to sanitize bikes before they came in. That way my staff was healthy and safe and not catching anything from product coming into the store. But we also felt the same thing going back, that we didn't want to give someone their bike back that we worked on and potentially put them at risk. So we washed the bikes on the way out. That's a big addition to the amount of time it takes to take care of a customer, washing the bikes in and out. But we felt it's the right thing to do, and we're going to continue to do that as long as this thing is hanging out there. And it's just part of what we do nowadays. We're an interesting business. We're a little different because we're seasonal. So this is a time of year where we actually normally would be going really well. Sales would be through the roof. We'd have a bunch of product. It would be going really well. We can't get product. We can't get bicycles. My floor is empty. They're starting to trickle in now, but it's tough from that standpoint. However, the repair side is doing really well. So we're trying to take advantage of that and kind of shift our movement to where we can really take care of that and get the most out of that and get as many people back on the road as possible. And we'll see how things go with sales. I think the pipeline for inventory is going to be 6 to 12 months before it's fixed. I was a director of operations for Schwinn, so I understand very much so what they're going through. One nut doesn't show up at the factory and you can't build the bike. So, and this is a global problem, not just one factory out. So it's going to be a long time for that to happen. I can't remember the next slide, sorry. Oh yes, what surprised us most? How quickly plans change and how quickly plans fall apart. We think we have a good plan. We talk about it in the morning and we've changed by noon. I'm sure every business owner out there is right now experiencing that. You think you've got something that's going to work for you and it just, isn't going to work because of the times and circumstances. The other thing which was really surprising was how the smallest thing right now can have a huge impact on your business. For example, I make the kind of the joke about staples. We ran out of staples, which really shouldn't be a big deal. But in the past, the way our business was set up, where people came into the store, we didn't actually have to put tags on bikes all the time. But now we have to tag every bike because we have to wash it. It goes back out and it's here. So the person isn't waiting in the store for the bike. And we ran out of staples, and it actually was a real hassle. And it's the smallest little things can have a big impact on your business. So just be prepared for that. If you're just opening back up, it's kind of an interesting time. Phone call volume for retailers and probably all businesses, restaurants and everything is through the roof. We aren't prepared. We just simply can't handle it. I don't have the staff to take care of customers that are here and answer the phone, and I don't have a fancy phone system that I can, do anything with it. So I just change my voicemail every day to say, today is whatever, we're open this time to this time, leave a message, or email us and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And we're doing our best to do that. It's tough. I've already spoken about the supply chain and how long it's taking to reboot. It's a little bit of a surprise. I'm not too surprised with that, but the other thing that surprised me was how inefficient you can be with a new system, with the new way that we're doing business. We're still, every day we're adapting to try and be more efficient so we can help more customers and help them quicker and take less steps. My steps are through the roof right now because we're so inefficient and having to walk all over the place to get the job done that normally actually the customer would pick up their product, bring it to the cash register, and it would be 0 steps for you. You might have to answer some questions or whatever, but now to sell a $7 tube is 50 to 100 steps for us. It's kind of crazy. And the other thing that surprised me was how busy you are, but that doesn't necessarily translate to profitability or huge sales. I mean, we get done with the day and we feel like we were hit by a truck. And then you look at the numbers and you're like, wow, that really wasn't worth it. It's crazy how much we worked and the return was, not what we would expect under normal circumstances. Don't get me wrong, we're super happy that we're open, things are going well, but it's definitely a different time. And the next slide. Okay, so this is definitely new for us. We're an old shop, and our website was just a product dump website, and we happened to make the change in January to a new website, which was great timing because we have utilized social media and the website like never before. I'm probably getting 50 inquiries through the website a day, something like that. So we're communicating with people on a level that we never did or never have before through that. And we're also getting inquiries through social media. Surprisingly, Yelp. We're getting a lot of messages through Yelp, Facebook, Instagram, and it's been a new new learning experience for us for sure, and then a bit of an eye-opener that there's that many people out there using this platform just to get information or find out information. And we're not very good at it, to be honest with you. So we've got a lot to learn, and this is going to be an interesting transition for us to move into this area a little bit more and learn how to better help our customers and use it as a resource. So that's this slide's going to be a work in progress probably for us for quite a while, but it's definitely been helpful, especially with the phone call volume, because it's given people another opportunity to find out information that we wouldn't have been able to provide, at least for a couple hours until we got back to them. So that's been good. What was next? All right, our inspiration, definitely family, definitely employees. When we were going through the yo-yo in the beginning, I could see the look on some of the employees of like, you know, wow, I'm going to be out of work, and you know, they're nervous and scared, and it wasn't a really good feeling. So it was great to be considered essential and be able to keep the business going, even though it was half of the business is closed, and we're trying to run, you know, do as much as we can on one side to pay for the other side that's not doing anything. So that was very motivational for me to do everything I can, make the investments that we needed to get as much out of the business and keep everyone on board and keep payroll going. And I just alluded to the repairs are at an all-time high, but it doesn't necessarily cover the other part of your business that's not working right now. And I think all businesses are going to find this to be true. Something that would normally, under normal circumstances, would do really well for them right now just may not be there. It may not happen, and you have to adapt and take advantage of what can work. And it's painful to sit there and see inventory. For me, it's inventory. For someone else, it may be a service or something they provide that's just doing nothing for you, and it's really, really hard. I have run out of gas. I haven't had a day off since January, and I've run out of gas a few times. I've actually had to just lay on the floor and take 5 minutes to myself and recharge and get going. But it's kind of what you do as a business owner. We're all dealing with it. We're all doing everything we can to get through it, and you just kind of reset and go back out. You want to put your best face on for customers and make sure that they know you appreciate that they're there and trying to support you as a small business and local business. And I've seen a ton of that, and that's also motivational for me. I've seen a lot of people like, hey, I want to buy from you because you're our local bike shop. And yeah, that alone just pumps me right back. You got the little fuel gauge there. It just puts me right back at full, and I'm ready to go because it's great. It's great to see that. So all right, and I think, is that it for me? Top lessons learned. Oh yeah, I actually stole some of this from last week's webinar because it's very true. Every day there will be something to be learned. It's just true. Every day is something new, and whether it's you've just got to say, this isn't going to work for me and I need to move on, or this is working great, let's do more of this and let's invest into it. Yeah, that's been awesome. Positivity. I know it's really, really hard sometimes. Sometimes you feel you're under an exorbitant amount of stress, and it's hard to be positive sometimes. But that's well received by the customers. Everybody's going through something right now. So if you're positive, it pumps them up as well, and then it comes back at you because they're excited too, and they're getting their bike fixed or whatever the case may be. Yeah, flexibility, letting go of things. Like for me, I've got a bunch of inventory there, and I just have to accept reality. It's not going anywhere right now. I'm not going to move it. I have to pay for it. The bills are coming due, but I can't do anything about it right now. So I'm just going to have to, just grin and bear it and focus on what I can do, and when things get back to normal, whenever that may be, hopefully we can move some of that inventory and get that going. The hardest thing I've had is with all the uncertainty and all the unknowns, customers we're used to being able to tell a customer when they'll get their product, when they'll get their bike, and right now we can't do that. If Amazon can't get the product to you in 2 to 3 days, there's no way a little bike shop in Louisville, Colorado is going to be able to control the global distribution problems and have any impact on it. So I simply can't tell people when the bikes are going to come in or when a product's going to come in. It's just beyond my control, and you have to let go of that. And most people understand and want to continue to support you, especially if you explain that it's just beyond your control and there's not a whole lot you can do. And some people will go look for it elsewhere, and there's really nothing you can do. And things that you took for granted under normal circumstances, it's just not the case under COVID. If you're just opening back up, things will be different. It will be a different experience than it was pre-COVID. And kind of roll with the punches and make the best out of it and really try to make it happen. And that's what we're doing here. Some days it works, some days it doesn't. But we will get through it. We'll be here. So I think that's it for me, actually. Is that right? Or is there another slide, Wayne?
That's the last slide, Greg.
That's the last slide.
But one question did come in, and then we'll switch over to Aaron. And the question was, you talked about how you kept yourself motivated, but what did you do to keep your staff motivated coming in and doing those long days of work when maybe they just didn't feel like they had the energy or it was safe or whatever they were going through at that time? What was that experience like, trying to keep them motivated?
Yeah, you have to be understanding. We've all had our moments where we can't deal, and at that time, even though you may feel pressured to say like, hey, you need to be here, you need to do this, you need to do that, you have to say, yeah, I understand. It's stressful. We did actually make changes to our schedule to accommodate the amount of busy work that's been going on. So we changed our schedule 12 to 6 from 10 to 6, just to allow a couple hours in the morning to get some of the extra work done to get ready to open. And frankly, 8 hours of running around at the pace that we're having to run around with the inefficiencies that we have was too much on employees. So we actually made changes to our hours, and I'm actually going to have to close on Sundays because I don't have the staffing to do Sundays right now. So I'm going to have to close on Sundays as well starting this week. So again, it's just changes happening by the moment. But yeah, I mean, when an employee is having a bad day, and they're going to have bad days, you just have to be there for them. You have to understand and understand that there's more going on in their life than what's happening right here, right now, at your store, your business, and kind of be there for them. And even though you may be upset that they're not doing what you hope they would do, or they're not being perfect with a customer, or whatever the case may be, blowing up at them is going to backfire on you, I think, because of the amount of stress everybody's under. So that's kind of, I guess, my long-winded answer of that.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Greg, for sharing that. So yeah, I think that gives the audience a sense of what it's like to be a retail business that, it's sort of whether it was open or not, and whether it was allowed to be open, and then just dealing with the reality of business as unusual. Thanks, Greg, for sharing that, because it gives everyone a sense of what the struggles have been for you, and perhaps what it's going to be like as others start to reopen.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And then, so now what we're going to do is switch over to Aaron Cox. For those of you that don't know, Aaron is the owner of ELC Photography here in Louisville, and we're super excited to hear her story about the path that she navigated and all that pivoting that Greg just talked about as well. So welcome, Aaron.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Megan, for having me. And as Mark said, I'm Aaron with ELC Photography. I am from Nebraska, and then I kept going west. So I came to school in Colorado, and then I moved to Los Angeles, where I was living and working for a few years. And then I eventually landed in New Zealand, where I was also living and working. And that's where I met my husband, Sean. And we decided to relocate back to Louisville. And that's when I opened my business in 2004. We have 3 kiddos, Stella, Oliver, and Hannah, 9, 7, and 3. So that keeps us very busy as well. And I'm just really thankful for Louisville because it really helped me build a strong foundation. And we've been able to create family, high school seniors, headshots, and corporate photos since 2004. So we've been here for a good amount of time. And, obviously we love this community, but we also photograph events throughout Colorado, the US, and beyond. And so COVID has, it threw us for a loop because we were not considered an essential business, and any photo shoots or events that we had to instantly stop. And so obviously that's a headache when you don't know what's happening. So you'd reschedule a photo shoot for a week, and then that would come, and then you'd have to move it again, and canceling events. And thankfully everyone has been really graceful with that process. And so most people have been okay with moving things. We survived the economy crash in 2008 as a business. And so therefore I was determined no matter what to make it through this crisis. And so we've had a positive mindset since the beginning. And one of the very first things that we did is that we sent out a newsletter to offer the pre-purchase of sessions. And it almost brought tears to my eyes because, like what Greg touched on, is that we have such a really dedicated, loyal customer base, and people who always do sessions with us each year, they instantaneously purchase sessions, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but when your business has come to a screeching halt, every little thing adds up. And then I had the idea, which my studio manager thought was crazy, to start making custom photo yard signs. And the idea came because we photograph a lot of high school seniors, and just hearing the stories of how sad they were. And so I thought, let's create something different and let's do some yard signs. And within our circle of clients, they definitely started selling. And then we were very fortunate that 9 News decided to do a story on us. And then it just started rolling, and we had countless shares on social media. And then literally overnight, we would wake up and we would have just our email just full of orders, which was amazing. But then at the same time, we had to make some big adjustments in how we were handling our business. And exactly what Greg talked about is the amount of phone calls was insane. So we were getting phone calls all the time. And then also, so we have a studio phone, my cell phone, and then all the social media platforms being just bombarded. So just trying to manage it as best we could and pushing out the signs to clients as fast as we could. And it just, exactly again, what Greg said is that every single day was different. You'd wake up and you would see these orders, and then I'd, have these conversations with my studio manager and try to pump her up because we're feeling overwhelmed, and it's like, let's do this. And it seems like a very simple idea to create a yard sign, but there is actually a lot of moving parts. And the biggest one is that we were dealing with an older demographic of clients. And so they were struggling with how to get us a high resolution photo. So there was countless phone calls and emails. And so an order, which should take 5 minutes if everything is streamlined, could take us a day going back and forth. And so some orders were super easy and some of them were not. And so that was just a big transition for us, and we just had a huge pivot. But we were genuinely surprised of the amount of orders, because then we were shipping signs all over the US. I think we can go to the next slide, I think. And that's, I think, what surprised us the most, was that we had signs from all over, and they were coming from, we're shipping things to Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Oregon. And so, which was really great to see. And we didn't even know how some of these clients were coming to us. Even though all the orders were coming online, we still had to provide the best customer service. And that again touches on, based on the phone calls, just the amount of phone calls. I just made a promise to myself, because I think before COVID, if I was busy doing something and I'd see my cell phone ring, I'm like, no, that can wait because I'm at home, I'm with my family. But with this, it's like you had to constantly be on. So no matter what, I was always answering my phone. And so that was, and it still is a struggle, to just always be there for people to help them, because it could mean like what Greg talked about, like either you get a sale or you don't. And then we had to quickly develop a relationship with our vendors to receive the best pricing, quality, and turnaround. That was huge just because the amount of influx of orders, so just being able to be sure that we were able to handle it. And then I think the best part about the whole process is that people were really excited to receive their grad yard sign, and people were comparing them to an art piece that they wanted to keep forever. And it's just because of emotional attachment. And I think that's what surprised us the most, is because it's a yard sign, but it means so much more because these graduates are missing everything. And so it's the one thing that we could give them that brought a little bit of joy to their lives. And I think that was, I know it touches base on this, that's what kind of kept us going. And the big thing is that you can pivot with a product while keeping the integrity of your business. Because if you told me 2 months ago that I'd be selling, hundreds of yard signs, I would say that's cheap. ELC would never offer a product like that, because we develop, we do a lot of wall art for clients. But it doesn't mean that. And so I think that's the biggest surprise, is that we kept the process the same from the best customer service from the very beginning to the end. And a lot of times with the local orders, we would go and we would drop off the signs in person, and just being with them for every step of the way was really important, is what we learned. I'm ready for the next slide. We created a shop page on our website immediately, which we did not have, and that led people to just be able to go online and buy pre-purchase sessions. We also took a photo that a lot of people in Louisville and beyond really liked, which was the flyover. We had the Blue Angels fly over the mountains, and it's something that I never would have done before, but the same thing, we just put it up there so that people could purchase it. And then with that, when people purchased that flyover print, we also donated one to an essential worker, and that created a lot of sales, which I was surprised about too. But having that shop page transformed everything, and just being able to do it really quickly. We were really thankful because we hired a marketing team, because we needed help and we could not do it all. And they helped us with tasks to pivot, and including like a really great in-depth blog post, and improving our SEO so that potential clients could reach us. So we were super thankful to have somebody on our side. And I think it's just, as a business, making that decision that you just can't do it all. And there's a part of me that I want to, but it's impossible. We keep posting constantly on Facebook and Instagram when we drop off the yard signs, and specifically on the stories. So we do a lot of stories, so that just keeps our clients interactive with us. And we still send out MailChimp newsletters that we have over 4,000 subscribers to keep them informed about our new products, because as much as people will deny it, everyone is on their social media, and everybody is, looking at their computers more than ever. So people are seeing everything that we're posting, and we've noticed a big influx with that. So we just keep telling those stories and keeping our clients engaged. To running out of gas, it made me laugh with Greg about just laying on the floor, because I think we did that a couple of times ourselves. The biggest thing was just, it's a yard sign, but like I touched about before, during a time of sadness, it really has brought joy and communities together. And some of the stories that we have heard have just been heartbreaking, from valedictorians or grandparents who have grandchildren, and they're just so proud of them. And so anything that we can do to help them just celebrate was really important for us. And that's what kept it going for us, because people just wanted to always engage with us, which we were surprised about. I definitely wanted to keep my studio manager employed. She quit a very secure job of over 7 years, and she decided to come join our team. So I really wanted to keep her employed. And even though yard signs is not what she signed up for work, I think we're both thankful, because it obviously has kept us very busy. And then no matter what, we still have studio overheads to pay. We've got bills. I've got kids and mouths to feed. So we have to keep working. We can't just shut everything down. It's not an option for us. And then I think the best part is that even during this yard sign process, we've just reached so many people that we never would have, and we've actually grown our client base really, really well. So we're thankful for that during this time, which was a big surprise as well. Next slide. Having a solid team is critical, and you can grow your team during a time of crisis. And so, you know, I was super thankful. If I didn't have my studio manager, there's no way I could have done this, but also with a marketing team that I hired, having vendors that were awesome. And so for us, we were just super thankful to think outside of the box, to create a product that really serves people during this time and could also carry into the future. So we know that this product, as crazy as it sounds, we know that we're going to keep offering it to clients in the future. People are already asking us to make birthday signs, retirement signs, you know, which we will still kind of keep on the side. It's not going to be our main focus, but we're not letting go of this product because now people keep asking about it. I've had to become really patient with myself, considering I am a business owner. I'm now a homeschool teacher, mom, wife, and every day is completely different and it's an adventure. And sometimes those adventures are really awesome and sometimes they really suck. It's just, there's some real hard days and then the next day could be totally different. And so I think that's just hard. It's an emotional roller coaster for everybody right now. And I think that's the hardest part, is that you just feel exhausted at the end of the day. Like the exhaustion that my husband and I feel is intense because we have 3 kids, 3 humans, businesses, and the amount of food that my children consume on a daily basis is fascinating to us. We just try to, you know, keep it light and just find the simple things to bring us joy. And even when an idea seems really simple, there are a lot of many moving parts to make it achievable. Because obviously people think, oh, that's great, you're making a yard sign, that's easy, and it's definitely not. So in regards to finding vendors, in regards to shipping, and like what Greg touched on, I think Amazon has ruined the world in regards to shipping because people expect their signs to be made instantaneously and then to be shipped to them overnight, and trying to communicate with the amount of text messages and emails saying, where's my order, where's my order? And then we had to have a shift because the company that's making them for us, inside their facility, they had to keep a 6-foot distance because of COVID, which means they had less staff, which meant they did have a turnaround time for us of 2 to 3 days. And then it went to 6 to 7, and then with shipping. And so it was, you know, every day kept switching and moving, and we were just trying to keep our clients informed. And no matter what, we were always answering, letting people know what's going on. And I think that's the biggest part, is just communication. And I think the biggest lesson I learned is that during this time, we all crave connection more than ever. And we were surprised of how important it is to take the time to reach out and just have a conversation with these people, because everyone's kind of sick of talking to their own family members. But people were just really gravitating towards just telling us about their graduate, telling us a happy story. And even when we would go and drop off signs, we realized that when we would drop off a sign, we would stand there for 15 to 20 minutes just talking with people, because people just, we all miss each other. And so just taking the time as a business owner, and I've kind of added that into our business, where I make a list each day of 5 people just to call them up and just say, how are you doing? And it's amazing how well received that is, because people want to feel listened to, people want to feel important and that they matter. So I think that's just been a big takeaway from us.
Thanks, Erin, for sharing that story. And I remembered you kind of talking about some of those drop-offs that you referenced, where as soon as you start hearing that story, you get overwhelmed with the emotions of what's going on in people's lives. And even just hearing some of those, I teared up, because it's like, it's real. We're all going through this together, and it's super tough on people like you and Greg, because you're running a team and you're trying to keep everything going together to support your community, whether it's customers in town or people that are further away, and they're like, gosh, I need you. Can you get this to me? Right.
And we're doing everything we can. And just touching base on those stories, I mean, like yesterday, I think I teared up 3 times just listening to people. I had a client in Oregon say, we adopted this young man. We adopted him when he was older, and it's been a really intense journey for us, and we are so proud that he's graduating. You know, so it's like, of course, we're going to get your sign to you as fast as we can. We're so happy with it. To grandparents, the same thing, where the parents had passed away and now they have a grandchild. And they told me they were so excited about their grandchild graduating that they took their sign and they put it on their roof.
Wow.
Which I was like, I need a picture of that, guys. They were like, we want everybody to know.
Yeah, I mean, the stories are almost endless.
Yeah, they are.
Gosh. So it's really interesting kind of hearing the stories of yours, Aaron, and Greg's, and then others that are out there in the Louisville community. Both of you talked about having a partner to work with you, or a team to help you out with other things that you just can't get to. Maybe that's you guys now as the business owners on the call. You haven't had a chance to even think about your next steps or rebooting your business. If you feel like that's you and you need some help, feel free to reach out to Wayne or I, or if it's like a city issue or something related to, I wonder if Louisville knows I'm dealing with this, you know, reach out to Megan. That's why we're here as partners, is we're here for you. That's the whole reason for this series, is to reach out and help each other through this. I think that's the only way we're going to get from surviving to thriving, and it's not going to happen in 5 minutes or 5 days. It's going to be a while. And then, you know, I can't thank Megan and the City of Louisville enough for partnering with us and sponsoring this and providing updates every week. You know, how to apply for this or how to apply for that, or what's going on with grants, what's going on with city rules and policies. And Megan, I wanted to kind of ask you, are there any particular updates just for this week for folks on the call today that would help the owners?
Yeah, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Thanks, Mark, for a few minutes to share from our end, and, you know, just reinforcing, and I think it's consistent with what Greg and Aaron said, and I so appreciate those stories because I think they're so enriching to keeping positivity during difficult times. But you know, sometimes it's a very small thing that you can do for a small business that is meaningful. You know, sometimes we have innovative or big ideas or programs, but those also take time to develop and roll out and communicate, and, you know, can also be a time before they actually deliver the help. So I'm happy to receive those ideas that people might have about ways that we can keep the support going to our local businesses, and we are continuing to work on that as well. Just a few quick things. You know, this webinar series, we really wanted to focus on, you know, mindset and adaptation and things we could do and things we could do together. We're going to be offering a couple more webinars that have a little bit of a different tone, different focus. So next Wednesday, same time, we're going to have a webinar with Excel Energy and Clear Results, and they'll be presenting about energy efficiency audits and savings that businesses might be able to take advantage of. You know, some of these things are, they're not your focus, and probably not your focus during a pandemic, but I know that businesses will also be looking for ways to reduce expenses and overhead, you know, in the long term as part of that recovery process. So I think it'll be a very informative webinar. So a little more tactical than what we've been doing, but hopefully still informative. And then on May 27th, the city is partnering with Commuting Solutions. It's an organization you may have heard about, and they look for creative solutions to commuting and how to help employers with navigate those items. So they're going to be talking with us about that and about telework and some of the transition that some employers are facing in those areas. So stay tuned. We'll be publishing information about how to register for those webinars. I anticipate the announcement will be tomorrow. So, and those again are for Louisville businesses. We're developing these webinars with these partners exclusively for you. So The other thing briefly, and I know there's an overwhelming amount of information, which is one reason these webinars are helpful too, is I try to digest the really key things that we want to focus on. Louisville did pass a facial covering requirement that is separate and distinct from Boulder County. So Boulder County passed one, but Louisville passed one that's slightly more restrictive. And so for all businesses within City of Louisville, you really need to be cognizant of those requirements. We do have specific language on our business resources page about what specifically from the ordinance applies to businesses. And we do also have posters on there. So, you know, if you're looking for the sort of support and reinforcement of here's what the city's policy is, and I need my customers and employees to comply, those posters can help you with that. And, you know, keep in mind, I know it's one more thing to manage and be aware of and, you know, be involved with. But it is focused on the public health, and I think businesses can be a really significant part of creating and keeping the public trust during this pandemic and helping people. And the posters also do note what resources you have in terms of enforcement. So, you know, our goal is compliance and education. How do we help each other? How do we stay safe? But we are also available if there are concerns or complaints that businesses or customers might not be complying. So take a look at those resources, and there is a direct contact number and email where you can get specific help and resources about questions about that, but you can also feel free to reach out to me.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan, for all those updates. You always keep us up to date on what's the latest thing that's happening, and I feel like keeping up with it's tough, so you made it easier. So this is the time in the webinar when you guys get a chance to use the Q&A feature below. It's on the bottom of the screen, and it looks like two bubbles together with Q&A. You might have a question for Aaron. You might have a question for Greg or Megan or even Wayne or myself, but this is a chance for you just to type in that question that you maybe you got inspired to ask, or you were thinking, I wonder how they dealt with this. Also, this is a chance to maybe even suggest a future topic. You might say, well, how do we deal with financial planning or cash flow management during this time? Like, I'd love to hear someone just talk about, you know, your 2 to 3 year financial plan, tear that up. What's the new plan? How do you create one? You know, what are the topics that you care about that you might want to see something come up over the next few months? So Wayne, as you've been monitoring the traffic and the questions along the way and the welcome chats and what people want to do or not do over the summer, what rises to the top right now as sort of a starting point?
Yeah, so there's no specific other questions that come through, but from my side, questions sort of for Aaron and definitely Greg, you can chime in as well. You guys both mentioned social media and how that's helped currently. And Aaron, I think you mentioned stories. I don't know if it was social media stories or stories from just customers, but if you can talk a little bit more about that and how that's helped to sort of run your business during these times.
So, yep, that's good. So we do like postings still on some of the things and products we're offering, but the story button, like specifically on Instagram, which then we have connect for a Facebook page, because that's just that fast everyday information and people really like seeing behind the scenes. And it does not have to be as polished by any means, but people just want to be curious and they want to see what you're doing. And so we really are adamant that we are posting something every single day on our stories just to keep engagement up. And we've noticed a huge influx because people are on their phones more.
Definitely. Have you been able to see a clear distinction between, we'll call them just regular posts versus these stories?
Yes, well, with the stories, we are having more traction because people, just that quick button and we're rising to the top. And then the same with our postings, they're still gaining, but the stories has a significant amount more traffic.
Nice, appreciate it. Yeah, definitely from what I'm seeing as well, for even myself, you know, stories are getting so much more traffic than just regular posts. And so I think that's a great place to focus for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Mark, I'm not seeing any other questions come through right now. I don't know if you had anything specific that you had notated throughout. if there's anything additional anybody wants to share.
So there were some questions that came up along the way, or just sort of comments about how people enjoyed the series. I've actually seen a number of people be on here the whole way through. And my encouragement is you might ask or think of a question later on in the day or the week and go, geez, you know, I wonder how this is being dealt with. Definitely sort of write that in the survey or reach out to either Megan or myself and say, I really would love to hear this. But I gotta say that this is like an iterative process of everyone waking up and going, well, what's hot today? What, like Aaron said, what orders have come in? And Greg, you know, geez, how many calls am I going to get slammed with? Or can I actually just quickly get these bikes fixed, get people back out there and do it again and get my staff energized to repeat? There's just a lot happening out there. And I got to thank Aaron and Greg for sharing your story, because I know it's not easy to kind of just talk about the good moments and the bad moments with honesty, or tears or frustration or whatever you were feeling to get through this process. Greg or Aaron, what other things do you have to kind of share with folks as you hear each other's stories, and then, you know, talk about other business owners? Because I know you guys all talk, it's a tight community.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's scary for us as a small business owner, because it may be, you know, like right now we have this momentum from yard signs, which is amazing, you know, and how we continue if we choose to continue it. But then we are just starting to do photo sessions. And so we just opened up our photo sessions, but we're still having just as many cancel. And so for us, if I'm not shooting, I'm not selling, I'm not making money. So it's as simple as that. So I still think it still feels very, I don't know what to expect. And so we're just trying to do the best that we can. But it's just, and it really depends. I think what I've also learned is that it's a comfort level. So there's a lot of people who are obviously respectful of the rules, but they still feel okay having their photo taken. And then there are some people who just do not even want to go there yet. So it's just being really open and honest with your clients and just being like, this is where we're at. This is how we're handling. Even what Greg talked about, like, we're washing bikes, we're doing this. It's the same with all of our equipment and our space. Being, you know, letting people know that we are being safe and we're doing everything we can.
Nice. And here's a question that just came in from, I think it's Tracy, and it's a question for you, Aaron, and Greg, feel free to pipe in too. What are your tips for picking a great marketing team or people just to work with as you step through this?
For us, it was looking at their alignment of values, but it was really, we were able to obviously have a Zoom call with them and just to see if you click, because that's a big part of it, because you're going to be interfacing with these people a significant amount. And also just knowing if they're dependable, their turnaround time, asking them for other clients, looking at the results, but then just really speaking candidly and openly about, I mean, you have to lay it out on the table. Like, you have to, I don't want to say reveal a lot of information, but this is my weakness, this is my point, and I need help because I can't do this all. And then also setting aside goals of this is the top important one. Like, one for us was we immediately had to find a way on Squarespace for people, instead of emailing their photo to put onto a yard sign, a platform that they could upload the photo directly with their order. So it streamlined our process. And our team was able to get it done for us in less than a day. And so just being able as a business to just be like, this is a top priority, these are the other things that we're working on, and just go with it. And I think, to be honest, I don't want to say I was forced into hiring a marketing team, but I'm happy I did, because it's opened my eyes to a lot of other things that I want to improve, and I know I have to improve moving forward. And so I'm happy now that I have that asset readily available for me in that team, because it helped me grow. I mean, they definitely helped me grow. Nice.
Thanks, Aaron. Greg, do you have anything to share, add to that? I noticed that you chuckled a little bit.
Well, we're a work in progress for sure. We're 40 years old, and Louisville's a small town. So most people in the area know we're here, but we're actually finding out pretty quick that there's a lot of people that are new to the area that have no idea that we're their local bike shop and have been here for 40 years. I'm surprised how many people actually say to me, oh, you're the bike shop next to the coffee shop. I'm like, yeah, we're the 40-year-old bike shop next to the 3-year-old coffee shop. So it's an area that we need to work on. I mean, it's just that simple. And that's a big opportunity for us as a business, for sure. So.
Nice. Wayne, I've seen a couple questions that did come in. I answered those while Aaron and Greg were kind of chatting. Anything else sort of come up along the way that you think is a question that we perhaps missed, or something else we want to leave everyone with today?
I don't specifically think so. Last thing from my side, guys, when it comes to marketing and growing your business, it's truly a game of trying things, measuring what works, measuring what doesn't work, and adjusting, continually iterating. So don't be afraid to try things. It's not all going to work, but you're always going to be learning. So just come from it through that mindset, and you should be on your way. So that's it for me. Mark, no other questions that have come in. So I think we're at a good point. But over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Wayne. Thanks to you all as well for joining this series and joining today's session. This was a 5-part webinar series. If you missed any of the pieces, I definitely encourage you, go to gambalilabs.com and watch the content. We have the videos there for you. You can really pick up some tips across grants, across what other companies, business owners have done, that reinvention, the social and the marketing piece. And as both Aaron and Greg said, recognize your own strengths and weaknesses, and that you have to grow, and finding resources to help you grow when you know you just have to. So we're super excited to wrap up the series with you, Aaron, and you, Greg. It's been awesome having you guys kind of share your experience along the way. And Megan, we couldn't have done it without you in the city to kind of love on the business owners of Louisville and share our sort of tips and tricks in these tough times. So thanks again, Megan, for making this all happen.
Thank you.
Well, you guys all enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you on a future series.
Thank you.
Be safe out there.
Guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.